Hey everybody, welcome back to the IHC Craft Room. Today is live number 14 of the Sweetheart Season series, and we're going to be making a Neapolitan Apothecary candle. I'm super excited. I've never made a candle like this before. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to fill halfway to 3/4 of this with wax, and then we're going to put little mini hearts as the top layer, and like a thick layer of them. Not just a couple of toppers, not just like something to look cute. We're talking like a whole chunk of this candle is going to be a mix of these hearts. And to make it Neapolitan, you know what I'm talking about? Do you guys remember that ice cream that has the chocolate, the vanilla, and the strawberry that is so yummy? That's what we're going to be doing today. So the bottom of this pour is going to smell like strawberries. And then we're going to mix some vanilla and chocolate flavored hearts as the top layer. So I'm super excited. Never done anything like this before. And we're going to do it together right now. So let's get started. We're going to be using Millennium Soy Wax today. I'm going to move this out of the way. And we're going to do a little bit of maker math together so that we can start pouring, measuring, and melting right away. So for today's candle, we're going to be making two 13-ounce Apothecary glass jar candles. And we're going to be targeting a 10% fragrance load. So for the main pour, that like 3/4 of the way pour that I was talking about, we're going to be using 473 grams of wax, which is roughly about 236 per jar. And we're going to be using 47 grams of strawberry fragrance oil, which will be roughly 23 per jar. And we're going to aim to pour at around 135 degrees Fahrenheit to 140. But like really, I'm guessing. I generally end up pouring at a different temperature. But that's the target, and we'll see what we do. Now, for the mini hearts that we're going to be doing, we'll be targeting 86 grams of wax and 9 grams of fragrance oil. Same for each. The white hearts will be vanilla, and the brown hearts will be hot fudge brownie. And so, of course, for the brown hearts, we're going to be adding a couple of drops of brown liquid dye. So that's basically what the plan is for today. So let's get to measuring because we need to get this wax melting. So I'm going to grab... let me see, where's my scale at? We're going to grab a scale. Oh, and today we're going to be using Stabilo 12 Wicks. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but those are the guys that are going to be on the hook. I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, anytime I use my scale, I like to cover it with parchment paper and paper towel, especially when we start working with the fragrance oils. But first we're going to measure our wax and get that to melting. Let me get my rubber gloves on. These gloves are not so great. I keep ripping them like the Hulk every time I put them on. Okay, so we're going to be using the double boiler, but also we're going to be using the microwave today to make our hearts. So for right now, we need 473 grams of wax. Always remember to zero out your scale once you have your measuring container on top so that it doesn't interfere with your measurement. And again, we're targeting 473 of Millennium Soy Wax. That's going to fill this almost to the top, I think. But it'll melt really quick. 473. Let's see if I can get there without going over. I already went over. By the time I even finished that sentence, I was already over. Okay. I'm going to put this aside because we're going to be using Millennium Soy Wax again in a minute. Let's go ahead and pop that in there. I feel like this is a little bit low on water, so we'll see how it goes. Generally speaking, this wax, all of these pellet types of waxes, they melt very quickly, so we shouldn't have much of an issue with that. Now, let's go ahead and measure out our fragrance oils so that we're prepared once everything gets hopping over here. First things first, remember we're going to zero out our scale. And we're going to start with the strawberry fragrance oil. Let me tell you a little bit about this oil before we get started. It's got top notes of red currant, raspberry, and peach, mid notes of rose, white lilies, and jasmine, and base notes of liang, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but liang, violet leaf, and tuberose. So that's strawberry. And let me tell you, it smells like straight up strawberries. So it is named appropriately, in my opinion. We're going to be targeting 47 grams of fragrance oil for this main pour. Look, can you see how much this has melted already? Oh my gosh, it's like I blinked and it's already halfway down. Okay, focus. Fragrance oil. 47 grams of fragrance oil. Let's hope Mary gets it close to it, but I'm probably not going to. That's the spirit. Let's go. Oh my gosh, is this going to be room enough in this cup? Well, I'm cutting it close. Get out of here. Did I make that on the first try? Yes, I did. That's right, girlfriend. Yes, you did. Woo! Woo-woo! I never do that, which you obviously can tell by how excited I am by it. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. And for future reference, I now know that these little red cups probably hold about a max of 50 grams. But you'd be like about to drip over the side. Okay, so next we're going to pour our vanilla fragrance oil. Vanilla fragrance oil has top notes of coconut and vanilla crunch, mid notes of cinnamon and honeyed soft butter, and base notes of cashew root, vanilla sugar, and tonka bean. It smells so good. Okay, we get 9 grams of this fragrance oil, so let's see. Oh, there's no way I'm going to get 2 grams, but I'm going to try anyway. I did do it. Yes, girl. Oh my God, I'm so impressed with myself right now. I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket after this live. I am on the money today, girlfriend. Woo! That like literally never happens. I'm really thrilled. Okay. How you doing? You're melting like a champ. That's what you're doing. Next, we're going to be using hot fudge fragrance oil. Hot fudge brownie fragrance oil. Okay, so this has top notes of dark chocolate, mid notes of freshly baked brownies accord, and hot fudge. And the base is vanilla and sugar. And let me tell you, this smells like straight up yummy, yummy chocolate. Okay, 0 my scale. And again, we're shooting for 9 grams here. This is going to be a really interesting candle to have all 3 of these scents. Okay, I'm going to give up. This is going to get out of control in a second. I'm going to use a pipette for that last gram, or else I will end up really overshooting. Okay. We got there, pal. Yippity skippity. All right, we are all set to go. Our fragrance oils are all measured out. Now, in terms of when we pour the hearts, I'm going to measure that wax later. I'm targeting about 90, how many did I end up doing? 95, I think, grams per tray. That's what I figured out is roughly enough to do every single heart on the tray. But, you know, how did my hands get like this? Oh, it's the label on the fragrance. Gross, bro. Gross. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. And now we're going to get our vessel ready because this wax is melting pretty rapidly and it's going to be time to start pouring sooner rather than later. So step number 1 is to make sure that your vessels are nice and clean. This is glass, so I am going to use Windex or glass cleaner, whatever you want to call it. But you can totally use soap and water. Generally speaking, that is how I wash my jars, but I didn't have time to do that today, so we shall Windex together. Basically, all we're trying to do is make sure that there's no like dust or debris sitting inside of that, which is really easy to happen sitting in my storage room. So it's nice to give it a little freshening up, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so we've covered the fragrances. Let's talk a little bit about these wicks. Today we're going to be using Stabilo 12 wicks. Stabilo 12 wicks are specifically being chosen for this because I don't want it to be a crazy, crazy large mouth pool. There's going to be a lot of gaps. I'm going to pack the top with these hearts, but there's definitely going to be gaps with like air pockets. And I don't even know what that's going to do. So I'm basically guessing at this. I don't want to go with a 16 because I feel like that would be a little too aggressive. Now, mind you, these jars can stand it because they're made from polysorbate. No, that's the wrong word. Biosilica? I can't remember. They're made of some fancy glass that is fire resistant or heat resistant rather. So they can handle it, but I don't want to be worrying about Stabilo's Stabilo 16s because they'll be a little too big. So 12s are going to be the sweet spot, I think. So I'm just cleaning the bottoms of these so that they will stick better to the Wicks stickums. These are just double-sided tape, like cut into circles. If you don't have anything like this, you can use a hot glue gun to stick them down. I never have, but I've seen creators online do it. All right. That was the fastest. That's probably going to be crooked. You can buy these tabs online at Amazon, and I think even Michael sells them. But I get mine from Village Craft and Candle. Just like I got my jars, my fragrance oils, my liquid dyes, my wax. I get the vast majority of my candle making supplies either from the dollar store or from Village Craft and Candle. And I'm an affiliate for them. So if you use my code IHC5 or any of the links on my profile that are affiliate links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you. So thanks if you decide to do that because yay, it helps me run my channel. But you'll also be able to get 5% off at checkout if you use code IHC5 as a first-time purchaser. So get your 5%. Anyway, I pick up most of my stuff from there, so I highly recommend checking them out. But you can also pick up candle making supplies all over the place. So if Village is not your cup of tea, you can get a bunch of stuff from Amazon. Michael's has a lot of stuff. There's a lot of like, I get my wood dobos from a company called Rama Candles in Vaughan, Ontario. So lots of candle companies out there selling some cool stuff. So have a look around. All right, so what we're going to be doing is pouring to, I want to go just before the vessel starts to curve a little bit. Let me put this underneath so you can see a little bit better. So I'm intending to pour right up until, say, around maybe here, just right before it starts to slope. And that will be with light pink wax. So I'm going to put just a little bit of liquid dye, magenta liquid dye, just a tiny bit. I'm actually not even going to use a full drop. I'm going to put it on a toothpick and swirl it so it's the faintest pink. And then we'll pour it to about over here. And then we're going to pour our hearts as well. So that's going to be fun. But this is taking some time. So let's at least start measuring out the first bit of our wax for the hearts. I'm not going to bother melting it because what's going to happen is as soon as I melt it, that wax will be ready. This happens constantly here. If you look at any of my other lives, that's what happens all the time. And then I won't be ready to pour my candle and mix my fragrance oil and all that jazz. So I don't want to be back and forth. We're going to focus on one step at a time right now. Now, I have pre-made these candles ahead of time. I have a set of the pink already pre-poured to here. And I have some pre-made hearts. So we're going to put this all together once we're done pouring. But I wanted you to have an idea of what the project's going to be. So stick around till the end. We're going to build it together and we're going to light everything and see how they melt. But first, let's pour out some more wax. For these little hearts per tray, as I said, I'm targeting 95 grams of wax, I think. And that's because I've just figured out that that's what these trays hold. So do whatever you like. I have no idea how many hearts I'm going to need per candle. I really, like I said, I've never done this before. So this is totally a guess. And we're going to be using Millennium soy wax for these hearts, which is not what I normally use when using silicone molds. Generally speaking, if I'm using a silicone mold, I'll be using Pillar soy wax. It's a harder wax and it allows you to maintain shape a lot more easily. But because it's just a hard shape and there's not a lot of like flailing bits or arms or legs, like a gingerbread man, for example, This should be fine. We shouldn't have any problem demolding. And I can tell you that the ones I made ahead of time, not a problem. So not having to jump between two waxes is a nice change. So I'm going to pour in here 86 grams of wax, and this is going to be for our vanilla hearts. Oh, too much, Mary. What a surprise. $86. There we go. Okay, I'll put that aside for now. This guy's almost done melting. Did I not tell you this was going to happen? I knew it. I already knew. Girl, I am on the money today, people. For real, I'm going to totally buy a lottery ticket. All right, let us prepare. It's just about time to take that wax off of the double boiler. Let's just have a quick look. I want to make sure that it gets up to at least 185. So we're going to give that a couple more seconds to get a little bit more toasty. And if you've ever seen one of my live streams before when we're making candles, you'll know that the reason we want to target 185 grams the reason we want to target 185 degrees Fahrenheit is because we want the wax molecules to open up and be ready to accept some guests. And then we will introduce our friends, the strawberry fragrance oil, the vanilla, and the hot fudge brownie. And hopefully they will bond and become the besties of all besties. Oh my God. And then we'll have a beautifully scented candle all the way through. So that's what we're targeting here. All right, it's getting up there. It's getting up there. Hi there, Tony. Thanks for joining today. I hope you're looking forward to some Amore Napolitano. That's what I'm calling these candles because it's a Neapolitan and their hearts. And get out of here. How cute is that name? Amore Napolitano. All right, a nice sip of water. Let's see where we're at. 183 still. Okay, you better get a little bit more spicy, please. There's really nothing I can do to make the temperature go any higher other than wait a few more seconds. So we'll wait. Now, usually when I am working with toppers, in this case, this isn't actually a toppers situation. This is actually the top layer, like the whole layer of our candle. So these are not traditional toppers, but usually when I have toppers, I like to have some available to demold in front of you. But I only have 2 of these trays, and I do want to make 1 full vanilla and 1 full hot chocolate brownie. So, okay, we're going to do this one more time. I'm officially impatient, so whatever temperature it is, we're going to pretend it's 185. Hey, it was 185. Don't tell me you didn't see that because I saw that. So I'm going to take that. Like 100% I'm taking that. That's so funny that actually happened. Okie dokie. Let's get you over here. I'm going to move this out of the way so that I don't accidentally make myself less pretty. Ain't nobody got time for that. And we're going to move you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right. We are ready to rock and roll over here. First, we're going to mix in our strawberry fragrance oil and get to mixing, and then we will deal with the color, okay? So we've already measured out our fragrance oil. This is already dropped to temperature, I guarantee you. No, I'm a liar. It's at 185, 186. Great. This is exactly the temperature we wanted. Mi piace. Okay. So let's dump our strawberry fragrance oil right in there. And we're going to get to stirring. It is currently 4:19 p.m. and we are going to stir for 3 whole minutes like the most patient person in the whole wide world. I'm gonna, stir like the most patient girl ever. Why 3 minutes? Because we want that wax and that fragrance oil to really bond. Like I was talking about earlier, the fact that we got it up to 185 degrees Fahrenheit opens up those wax molecules. It's like opening your front door, and then suddenly here comes strawberry fragrance oil going, hey, I see your front door's open. You want to hang? And the wax is like, sure, come on in, let's chill. So we definitely want to give them a chance to, get acquainted, maybe have a coffee. It'll be great. It's going to be great. They're going to have a great time together. They're going to become the best of all friends. And then once we have made sure that the wax and the fragrance oil are super well bonded and well acquainted, we're going to then introduce a tiny, tiny bit of magenta liquid dye so that we can make this wax a nice light pink, like a little strawberry. Like, do you guys know which ice cream I'm talking about? I don't know if it's used in any other way, Neapolitan. I don't know if there's like a type of cake that's designed that way, but I only know it for the ice cream, and it is a huge throwback to my childhood. That was definitely an ice cream we had in our house, and I'm such a fan. And so when this idea kind of occurred to me, I was like, get out of here. What a cute idea. I'm so excited to see how it smells because it's going to be a vanilla chocolate candle at the top, right? And then at the bottom is when you're going to get to that strawberry. So eventually we'll reach the point where the vanilla and the chocolate hearts have melted down enough that they start to now melt that layer of strawberry. And that's when it's going to intermingle. So it's almost like having two separate candles because you'll have a vanilla chocolate candle until you reach that strawberry point, and then you'll get to like whatever that would be, the strawberry vanilla hot fudge, which is, according to me, that fragrance is called Amore Napolitano, which is Napoleon love in Naples. I'm very excited about this. I've never made a candle like this before. I think I've said that 4 times now. In case you missed it the first 3 times, now you know. All right, we have officially been stirring for 2 minutes. We got 1 more minute to go. I'm also going to point out the fact that you don't want to stir too quickly. And I'm probably stirring a little bit more quickly than I should right now because I'm feeling a bit impatient today. The reason you don't want to stir too much is because you don't want to be introducing a lot of air to your wax mixture if you can avoid it. And obviously agitating it by stirring it quickly would probably introduce a little bit of bubbles. And I can see a few bubbles actually because I am stirring a little bit too quickly. I also like to stir from the inside and swirl my way out to the edges and then scrape the edges. And I am scraping the bottom of the vessel as I stir as well. I don't know. Does that make a difference? Your guess is as good as mine, but I would assume so because if you have some random fragrance kind of hanging out, you'll draw it into the mix. So I don't know. All right. We are at 3 minutes of stirring. Congratulations. You've been just as patient as I am. All right, here we go. Let's go. We're going to mix in a little bit of magenta liquid dye. So I'm going to use a toothpick for this because I don't want a full drop. I think it would be fine to have a full drop, but it would be just a little too pink for my taste. I want it to be pink, but not slap your mama pink. You know what I'm saying? This is more like tickle your mama pink. I don't know. What's tickle your mama pink like? Everybody, we'll see. It's a mystery. Basically, I just put a little bit of liquid dye at the bottom of the toothpick, and we're going to see. And I feel like that's quite a lot, right? That should give us a nice pink. So that'll be tickle your mama pink. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All right, now I'm going to mix this in for only about 30 seconds. Liquid candle dye doesn't need the same amount of time to bond, and that's why fragrance oil first. You definitely want fragrance oil and wax to get the chance to bond with nothing interfering with it. And if you were to add your color in first, then obviously the wax is going to bond more strongly to the color and not as strongly to your fragrance oil, which could lead to some like oily layers at the top of your candle and some separation. And who wants to deal with any of that nonsense? Not me. So fragrance oil first and then liquid candle dye. And I'd say we've probably stirred long enough. So let's go ahead and get started pouring. I'm going to check the temperature. I always forget to do this, so I'm very proud of myself for remembering today. Mary, you are just winning at life today. Let me tell you. Yes, I want to clean this because the next fragrance is going to be different. Okay, let's see. What are we at? 152. And I said I wanted to pour at 140. And what did I just say it was? 152. Okay, we're going to pretend it's 140, and I'm going to pour it anyway because I'm not going to wait any longer. It's not a big deal. But I will say one thing before I do pour for a second, which is if you are in a room where the room temperature is going to be drastically different in temperature than your hot wax. I mean, come on, your hot wax is hot. It's going to be hot. But if your room is very cold, then your vessel is going to be very cold. Your desktop is going to be very cold. And it's going to get like kind of shocked by this hot wax. So there's some ways around that. You could put a bit of aluminum foil around your vessel. You could put a little pot holder underneath to break up the cold from the table. You could also hit the interior or the exterior or both of your vessel with a hot gun, a heat gun. Look at all this liquid dye on my hands. Whatever, with a heat gun to warm up the vessel itself. And that'll just help it not have a shocking interaction with the hot wax. I'm in a cold room, I'm in my basement, and I'm not doing any of the things I just recommended. So I'm anticipating maybe some frosting, maybe some wet spots on the sides of my candle. Not a big deal, but I'm totally going to do that because I'm too lazy to do all the things I just said. And I also don't care if there's a little bit of a not so beautiful aesthetic change to my candle because it doesn't actually matter. The candle will function just as well. It just might not look as beautiful because, you know, all the things we just said. Okay, so where are we at now? 149. I didn't talk enough degrees off. What do I see here? Is the wax starting to thicken at all as you're doing this mixing? Not really. It's dropping in temperature, though. The wax itself will drop in temperature as you're stirring. And then as you add the cold fragrance oil, it's going to drop in temperature some more. So you're going to see it come down at least, I want to say 25 to 30 degrees, which actually we just proved because it was 185 when we took it off. And I just checked and it was like 152 when we stopped and it's now 149. So you drop those 30 degrees, but it's not going to get slushy until it starts hitting around 100 degrees or so, maybe 105, which is still another, you know, solid 45 degrees. We need to wait for this to cool down to get to that slushy stage. So nothing to worry about just yet for that. But we are going to go ahead and start pouring though, because Mary's impatient and I want to move on to our hearts as well. 148. Okay. So again, I'm going to try to target right where this jar starts to curve. So right around here, and I'm hoping to get these to be the same height, but we'll see. You get out of my way first. All right, here we go. Oh, I think this is going to be a really good pink. I'm not sure if you can see from the top down what a pretty pink it is. I'm going to stop right there and we'll see. I want to level them out and then I'll keep going a little bit until we finish out all of our wax. I might have actually hit the sweet spot already. Okay, get close together. Yeah, there's like barely any left in here. Wow, that worked out really, really well. They are almost perfectly identical. This guy got a tiny, oh no, they are identical. Yippee! Guys, I'm telling you, I'm gonna win the lottery. I am having a lucky afternoon. Get out of here. Mary's winning the lottery, guys. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be awesome. Oh my God, we're gonna have so much fun on this channel if I win the lottery. You have no idea. You have no idea. As you can see, I'm cleaning out my pour pot. I'm not using this again. We're not doing the double boiler. I'm going to be using the glass one that you saw me measure into earlier. But this is a tip from me to you. Trust me, you will thank me. Make sure you do a really good job cleaning the wax out when it's nice and warm. Then you can wash this later with a little bit of soap and water and get ready for your next candle making project. But if you have it, if it's not cleaned out, then you're going to have to deal with really melted and solidified wax and having to clean that. Trust me, you don't want to do that. All right, let's put our Wicks centering tools on here. Actually, you know what? We have time for that. I'm going to go pop this into le microwave to melt it down. Here we go. I put it in for 2 minutes. And while that's happening, let's go ahead and put our Wicks centering tools. I got these from Michael's Canada. I want to say there were 10 in a pack for like $6. I always use the 40% off coupon, and I highly suggest you do the same, or 30%. Michael's has wicked deals, but you got to wait for them, and you got to use their coupons. I mean, unless you want to throw your money away, that's up to you. In which case, let me remind you again about my affiliate codes. All right, I am making sure that my wicks are as straight as possible. They might shift a little bit as time goes on. But for the most part, if you can start off with a nice straight wick, you're starting the game off right. You know what I'm saying? Let's move these off to the side and give them a chance to start solidifying and curing. Beautiful. Now, the first one we're going to mix is our vanilla fragrance oil. And the reason I'm going to do that is because it makes it easier for me when I have to mix in the liquid dye later. If we mix in liquid dye now for the hot fudge brownies, then I got to do a really good job cleaning my pour pot. And I don't want to do a really good job cleaning my pour pot in between. I'm just saying. So vanilla first. And we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go give those wax beads a shake. You could definitely give them a good stir as well. But I find that then I get a lot clumped onto my stir stick and it makes Mary annoyed. So a good shake is good as well. It's not a big deal. It ain't that deep. We'll give this a little shake, 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 shake. That is about halfway melted at this point. Okay, I'm going to have a little sip of water, and then I'm going to bring out all the stuff that I made last night so that we can enjoy this together. We'll pause in between and work on the hearts. But, you know, it takes time to melt wax, guys. What am I going to do? We're going to work in between. So, we made these pretty ladies last noche. So I'm going to take my wick centering tools off. And we'll have a quick look at how these turned out. And you do recall all of the yammering I did a few minutes ago about temperature and what would happen if I didn't adjust for temperature when my candles cured. And this is a really good example of that. So first of all, I poured to pretty much the perfect spot that I wanted because I want to have enough room to put at least a nice thick layer of hearts there. So that's really good. Could have even gone just a tiny bit lower as well, but I'm happy with that. Now, the sides of this candle, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm not seeing any wet spots at all. On the bottom, there's a big wet spot right here, but none on the top. So that's wonderful. We have a tiny bit of cracking in the corner over here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, right there in the corner. And you can see around the wick itself, there's quite a bit of frosting, which is a bit unusual, actually, for Millennium soy wax. Millennium is excellent for its glass adhesion. It's one of the number one reasons why I'm using this wax today. It has a lower melt points than other traditional soy waxes. So most soy waxes have a melt point of about 120 to 125, whereas this is at about 115 to 118. So it melts quicker and easier. How we doing over here? Yippee! All right. We are fully liquefied. Let me use my temperature gun. I'll bet you it's going to be like over 200. I can feel the heat of this handle. Santa Maria. Wowzers, Penny. 220. Wow. Okay. Ay caramba. I see something floating in my wax. Like a little bit of like cardboard or something from the box, maybe. Did I get it? Yeah. No, I didn't. It's right there. Sorry, guys. This doesn't actually matter all that much, but it bothers me when I can see a little piece of debris. It's not unusual to find a little tiny something in your wax beads. It happens. But if you're able to get it out, you should. There it is. Did I finally get you? Maya, you are not joking around, eh? Okay. Let's scoot you guys out of the way. We're going to work on the vanilla hearts first. So this is hella hot right now. Really, really way too hot. So I'm going to pretend that's not happening. And we're going to go ahead and mix in our fragrance oil. Remember, we wanted the fragrance oil to get up to 185. So we have far exceeded that. So yay us. And let's go ahead and put in our vanilla fragrance oil. There's only 9 grams of this fragrance oil because we're still only targeting about a 95-gram total yield of melted wax and fragrance oil. So I apologize, but we return to a 3-minute stir because it is importante. I really think it's important to always stick to that 3-minute stir. If you look online, you'll find that people say 2 to 3 minutes for soy wax. And you may have heard me say this before, but that extra minute, if it's going to give me better scent throw, I'm taking it. Like, I don't know. I don't mind stirring for 1 more minute to get a really good scent throw on my candle. Bring it. So, okay, let's go back to talking about this while I'm stirring here for a couple more minutes. So what time was it when I started? It was 4:34. So we're going to stir until 4:37. All right. So the tops of these candles have quite a bit of frosting right around the wicks. And the wicks themselves have like a little bit of a tiny bit of a bubble just underneath them that popped. So it's interesting because the tops didn't solidify as smoothly as I would have hoped. And generally speaking, Millennium does do a really great job of being like a one and done kind of beginner friendly wax. So I am kind of surprised. It's not unusual though to get frosting on any soy wax. Soy is known to frost. It takes color, but it does frost. And you'll also notice that you're never going to get a really like crazy, crazy vibrant color when you use soy wax. Soy wax has a tendency to mute everything. Whereas paraffin wax will give you that like almost crayon wax kind of color vibrancy, right? So anyway, keep that in mind when you're trying to color your projects. If you're trying to shoot for a really, really vibrant color with soy wax, you're not going to get there. You'll get a nice color, but it won't be the color that you're thinking of. That would need paraffin or at least like a para-soy kind of combo. Or you could add some additives to your waxes as well. There's lots of additives out there. I know nothing about additives. I'm not interested in that. But feel free to look it up because that is an option if it's something that blows your hair back. Okay, we're at 4:37. I feel like that's been 3 minutes. I might be wrong, but we're going to pretend. Right or wrong, we're at 3 minutes, okay? So I am going to, we don't need any color for this because we're doing vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead and start pouring this into there now. 184. So you see, it came down quite a lot between the stirring and the adding of the fragrance oil. We went down about 40 to 50 degrees, which is roughly what I estimated earlier. So I'm pretty pleased. Now I'm going to put my heat resistant glove on. I'm probably going to have to put both of them on. It's hard to maneuver with them both. This is going to get really hot really fast. And I want to go slow because I don't want to make a huge mess. However, I recently found the droppers that came with this. They're bigger, they're thicker because this is made for chocolate. But wax is not going to come out of here, which is why I've been avoiding using them because I feel like it's a one and done kind of thing. But it's going to be so much easier to fill these with, like, get out of here. How easy is this? So tell me something. Do I need to be wearing this glove then? No. Oh, it drips a lot though. Did you see all that? So I could use a pipette to do the same thing. The pipettes that I have are a little bit on the small side. They're like 2 grams or something. This is definitely going to be way more than that. What's your problem? Do you just fall out the side? I don't know. I was so excited about this dropper, and it seems like it's doing a half-ass job. But it is way faster. Let's pour a couple. We'll see. My hand's already burning, in case you're wondering. Yeah, no, way messier. Okay, we're going to use this. We're going to use this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switcheroo. I don't know if you can see the mess I made on these ones. How much I over poured. Let's see if I can suck some of that up. Why does this matter? It actually doesn't, just to be clear. My obsession with making these trays be clean is just because I've got, I don't know, a touch of the OCD. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But I don't like it, so I accommodate for it. If you don't care, Then just pour willy-nilly on top as much as you can get into the cavities. Good for you. And call it a day. But I'm going to take the slower, hopefully less messy route. Wow, this is actually way, way faster. So I've seen people who, have you ever seen those dough devices? They look like a funnel, and it kind of has like a gun action on the bottom where you can release, I guess what would be to make like donuts or something. I think they're pastry funnels or something. I don't know what they're called, but I've seen creators who make candles use those for when they're making like mass amounts of candles. It's like so much easier, right? They're just using this little thing. They're going boop, boop, boop over top of all of them. And I'm sure they all make that boop, boop sound when they do it. I'm pretty sure. I think it's like a requirement when you buy that tool that you sign like an agreement that says you must boop when you do the thing. So, you know, just so you know for future reference, if you want to get one of those, you'll have to learn how to boop. But anyway, that's a really cool tool. And I can see how this is very similar to that. I'm going to actually check what the temperature of the wax that's currently sitting. You know what I just realized? I could totally be melting the other wax right now, and I'm wasting this opportunity. So let me pause for a second. We're at 166, still a really great temperature, nothing to be concerned about. I'm going to actually grab another of my measuring cups, and we're gonna try to be a little bit more two things at one time. Sorry, Perry really interrupts my ability to be multitasking these days. So, and if you guys don't know what Perry is, good for you. To those of us who know, it's called perimenopause, and it does a lot of things to your brain. And one of them means multitasking isn't as easy as it used to be. All right, here we go. So we need 86 grams of wax. I've zeroed on my scale. We're ready to party. Well, she did it on the first try. Yes, she did. And into the microwave you go. Diddly. All right. We're going to let that melt for 2 minutes. And we're going to get back to our little hearts. Thank you for your assistance, sir. We no longer need your services. Here we go. Let's see. How much temperature did I lose in stopping? Not much. 161. It's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. Okay. Yeah, I highly recommend using this thing. Geez, what a difference it makes. There's a bit of a learning curve because it really does dribble a bit. I think you have to hold it at a decent angle. That angle I just held it at was chef's kiss. It totally, nothing dripped. Now, I have seen people do like a straight up pour across and then they use like a piece of wood to level it out or something to level it out. I actually tried it myself. I mean, it works. I hated it. Like from the depths of my OCD soul, I hated it. I don't have actual OCD, but I have touches, and that's one of the things that touches it. And I don't, not in a nice way. It wasn't a nice touch. It was a stranger danger kind of touch. So I'm not going to be doing that again. But this is a great way. If I can clean out this pipette, how could I clean out this pipette so that the wax doesn't solidify inside? I guess I could put it into some warm water and melt that wax and then try to clean it with a Q-tip or something. Or paper towel. Oh, who has that kind of patience? Look what I'm doing. Sometimes I have patience. I don't know. It depends. Oh. Please hold while we check the wax. It's time for a little shaky, shaky, shaky. Shake it, shake it, shake. Muy bueno. We'll do another 1.5 minutes in the microwave. So that was 2 minutes, so 3.5 minutes basically is what we're targeting here. We'll see how that goes. All right. Man, this really pleases my little heart. This really tidy silicone mold, like get out of here. This is the tidiest it's ever been. I've like tried to clean it off with like paper towels and stuff because it irked me. And this is just like so accurate in comparison. Plus it also allows you to fill the cavities almost like to the tipping point without having to go that far, because I've had it happen that I just don't put enough wax because I'm scared it's going to overflow. And then you end up with like a little divot in the center of the heart, which is, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But if you can avoid it, I'd prefer it. All right. I feel like my wax is going to beep any second now. And we are almost at the end of this tray. So we have timed this very well. Me gusta. All right. This vanilla smells yummerific. Okay, hold on. I'm coming. I want to finish this tray. I'm talking to it like it understands what I'm saying. What do we know? Maybe it does. All right. Let's go get our melted wax. I bet you're ready. Yeah, buddy. Who's nice and liquefied? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you're muy caliente, marona. So let's see how hot. What's your guess? I'm going to say 230. Here we go. Oh, Marion, way to overshoot. 192. Okay, I'm going to give you a second. I want to finish this. And then we're going to mix in our fragrance oil. But 192 is still higher than the 185 that we need, so it'll be fine for a couple minutes. I just want to finish this off. Now, I got to say, because I was so accurate with this dropper, I have a tiny bit of wax left. Not a lot, but the amount that I would have wasted across all of these has been saved by this dropper. So I don't need that extra 5 grams of wax or so. I'm topping up some that I can tell are a little light. Oh, not you. You're about to overflow. All right. These are starting to solidify a little bit already, the ones on the far end. All right. I am very pleased with that. We have a teeny, teeny, tiny bit left. Not a big deal. Nothing to be concerned about. Now, here's a little tip that I try to share in all of my candle making videos. Always have an extra silicone mold hanging out on the side, because if you end up in a situation like this where you're a little bit over, you can make yourself a scented wax mount with that extra bit of wax rather than wasting it. So now I've got 2 little vanilla stars waiting for my melter. And Millennium Soy Wax is the perfect melt wax, by the way, because again, low melt point. And another reminder to clean your vessels now while the wax is warm and you can wipe it out. Trust me, you'll thank me later. All righty, friends, let's get you out of here. And let's see what we can do with Senor Hot Fudge Brownie. Okay, I don't want to move that right now. What are we at? 178. Okay, we're a little lower than I would have liked, but we're going to pretend we're at 185. I'm not putting this back into the microwave. That's not going to happen. What's the big deal in the fact that I've stirred it in at a lower temperature? The big deal is that it's not being mixed at the ideal temperature. So the wax and the fragrance oil may not bond as well. It's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to perfect your scent throw, as we discussed earlier, your combinations of things like what your fragrance load is, the way you calculated it. We targeted a high fragrance load today. 10% is a high fragrance load. On average, most candle makers will target anywhere from 7 to 9%. And I almost always target 10%. So I want you to keep that in mind when you're looking at my recipes or any of the things we're making on this channel. I like a high scent throw, and I always target a higher fragrance load because of it. But not all waxes are created equal, and they don't all support a 10% fragrance load. So you have to be aware of that. Millennium soy wax is one of the waxes that does hold a lot. So it's not a problem. It can hold that 10%. And it's one of the reasons why I chose it for this project. That and the fact that it has such excellent glass adhesion, and it's known for its super smooth tops, which we were talking about that just before we started working on this part. The tops came out super smooth. There's a little bit of frosting and a slight crack in one spot, but all of that can be explained by the temperature issues we discussed in my basement. So Millennium soy wax is an excellent wax to use, especially if you're a beginner. These little pellets are a dream to work with. And as you can see, you can do it in a double boiler. You could do it in a 9-liter melter. Village Craft and Candle has those really big melters if you wanted to do a whole bunch at once. Or you can melt small batch like this in the microwave. It's made for it. So it's a good time. All right. I would say we are about 2 minutes into the stir. Let Mary have another sip of water. Let me see if I can drink water and stir at the same time. Let's see, guys. Woo! It's like I have the ability of a toddler or something. What? Okay. I feel like we have mixed long enough. If I'm being honest, I didn't really check the time. So I feel like we're probably about 2 minutes in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and add my chocolate brown liquid dye. Now for this, again, we're shooting for like a chocolate kind of vibe because, again, Neapolitan has strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. And so do all of our fragrances here. So we're aiming for like a milk chocolate kind of vibe, like that light chocolate look. So I would normally use just the toothpick like we did for the strawberry. But that actually makes it way too light of a brown. So I'm going to do 2 drops of brown liquid dye in here. 1, 2, and that's it. This liquid dye, all the liquid dyes from Village Craft and Candle are highly concentrated. Right on here, it says 7 to 14 drops for 1 pound of wax. And a pound of wax is 453 grams. So that's way, way more than what we've got here. So 2 drops should give us a really good color. Now, if you are struggling with liquid dye or color in general when it comes to your candles, you're not alone. I struggled with that a lot. I still kind of struggle with it. I don't always get to the target color I'm aiming for. A reminder again that soy wax does not perform the same as paraffin, so you're not going to get a really vibrant color when you're targeting what color you're going for. But after you've added your color in and you stirred for about 30 seconds to a minute and you feel like that color and that wax have bonded really well and they've mixed through, what you want to do is just take a drop of your wax and drop it onto a piece of parchment paper like that and let it solidify, because the color that it is when it's liquid is not going to be the color that it is when it solidifies. As you can see from these two side to side, obviously they're not identical. They weren't from the same batch, but I used the same method on these candles that I made yesterday and the candles we use today, which is putting a little bit of magenta liquid dye on a toothpick and swirling it in the hot wax. So in theory, these are the same color, melted and solidified. So very different. So it's a good idea to test the color of your wax by doing this little test. By putting 1 little drop, it's not going to take long for that to harden, and it'll give you a good idea of what this is going to look like. And right now, just from the look of it, even not solidified, I like that brown. So I'm happy with 2 drops. I think that was good. We're at 154 right now. Now, when I was planning out this project, the plan was to pour these hearts at about 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And the theory is that the cooler the temperature is, and around that 130 mark, it'll help them pop out of the molds nicely, a little bit more politely, I guess. But realistically, one of the things that I love about Millennium Soy Wax is that low melt point, but it also makes it a very soft wax. So if I were to push my finger into the top of this candle, I could totally put a fingerprint in there. It's a really, really soft wax. And that means that when you pop these out, you could probably smush them if you tried really hard. But you can also clean up the sides of the shape because of it. It's a very malleable, manipulatable, and movable kind of tacky wax. It'll also make it easier when we put our hearts on top for it to kind of like become friends with the heart. So Millennium is a softer wax, and there are ways that you have to accommodate for that. And it's also a container soy wax. It's meant to be used in containers, not in silicone molds. So if it doesn't perform beautifully as a topper, that's because it's not designed for it. But it'll be fine. Trust me. Trust me. It will be fine. I like that color. Okay. I feel like we've stirred enough. Let's go ahead and clean off my stir stick here. And let's see what temperature we're at. 148. And we want to do 130. Oh, that was my temperature gun. So we're not using that anymore today. It fell in a spot I can't reach. So no more of that. Well, joke's on you. I didn't need it anymore. Ha ha ha. All right, let's make our chocolate fudge hearts. Oh my gosh, these smell so good. Yeah, I'm totally going to take the time and effort to clean out this dropper because it's that good. It's worth it. So much easier than the pipette. I wonder if I could buy disposable ones that are this thick. I bet you could. The pipettes that I got on Amazon are really thin in comparison. Like, look at the difference. One of these things is not like the other. These are like Mary, and these are like somebody else. So we'll see if we can find some Mary pipettes on Amazon that are disposable. It'll be easier than having to clean it out all the time. Oh, man, I can't get over how fast this is. Yeah, this is the perfect angle that I'm at right now, which I don't know what this would be, a 45-degree angle. That means the wax doesn't come pouring out of it. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a trick of the dropper. Oh, too much there. I made it overflow. Ay, caramba. All right. We're going to fill out this whole tray. And that will give us a nice collection of hearts to top these candles. I don't actually know how many hearts we're going to need. Again, if you're just joining me now, thank you for joining. I hope you're enjoying what we're making today. These Neapolitan heart candles. Amore Napolitano. That's what we're calling this. And putting the loose hearts on top, like the top layer of the candle, is a first for me. So I don't actually know how many we're going to need. It is mystery. Mystery we will solve. It's going to be great. So I actually made ahead of time 2 trays of each of these. Because again, I don't know how much we're going to need. So let's hope that we have leftovers. And then we'll know that 1 tray is enough for 2 candles. Otherwise, a tray per candle is what would be needed, I guess. We'll figure it out at the end. I don't know about you guys, but I find this kind of stuff super satisfying. Like watching it fill up, it's a good time for me. It's kind of like, you ever see those people, like when, actually I get my nails done. I get manicures done. I can't do my own nails. Not as beautifully as my girl does it. But if you ever watch your nails getting done, it's like hypnotic watching somebody fill something, complete it from start to finish. There's just something so satisfying about seeing the entire process of like watching this fill from left to right. I bet you I could make a short reel of me silent, not doing all this yammering, just recording me filling this from left to right. And I'd probably get way more views than any of my other stuff does with all that Mary yapping. Joke's on you. I like to yap. Ha ha. I don't care if you like it because I can't control it anyway. Well, I'm definitely getting into a rhythm here. I'm going a little bit faster now as I'm getting used to where everything goes and how much goes into each cavity. Oh, right as I say that, I get cocky and the head popped off. Dude, way to crash out. Like, so extra. How did that even happen? I guess I've been pushing against the tube too much. Whatever. I feeks. Yeah, so most of these silicone molds that I use, these ones in particular, I got from Amazon. I get a lot of my silicone molds from Dollarama. Dollar Tree doesn't really sell silicone molds, not in Canada. It's pretty rare. But Dollarama has definitely upped their game with silicone molds in the last year or two. And they tend to have at least something every season. But they're not designed for candle making and for toppers, right? They're usually for either baking, so like a larger cookie kind of look, or a baked cake or something, or they're for chocolate. But we use them for candles. Or you can even find them for ice cubes. They have a lot of really cool shaped ice cube trays now that you could totally use for wax as well. But this one in particular, I think is designed for making chocolate. I would not be able to make chocolate this size, I think, because I'd be really, really busy eating the chocolate instead of putting it into the molds. So, you know, we all need to know our strengths and weaknesses in life, friends. And making chocolate is not going to be a strength of mine. Eating chocolate, definitely a strength. Making, I wouldn't have the patience of the components. This is not filling up as much because of that. Can I get you a little higher up? No, I just realized, why am I wearing this glove? Yeah, that's not hot anymore. Oh, that's way better. I got way more in there now. It's a little too far up on the, or too far down on the tube. I'm getting a bit of a hand cramp though. Truth be told, carpal tunnel likes to introduce itself to every equation. I have to say my hands have been in quite a bit of pain this week because I worked on a wreath that I did on a live stream this Thursday that just passed, where I make wreaths on this channel every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join me if you want to learn how to make some wreaths. But this last Thursday, I made one with hearts, like yarn wrapped hearts and yarn pom-poms, which were super fun to make. It was a super cute like project in general. Oh, and by the way, if you want to watch this in the replay, Mary from the future will put it up in the corner over there. But it was definitely challenging on my hands, and I've had some like hand pain ever since. I need to like chill with all the hand usage. So clearly doing this was a great plan. All right. We got all of our chocolate hearts ready. I'm going to go back in and do a couple that I feel I was a little chintzy on. You don't notice it at the time, but then afterwards you can see the dip from the top. All right. I am pleased with this. I think we've got ourselves some beautiful hearts coming. I'm going to set this guy aside and see if I can save him later. Wait for me. I will fix you. And this we're going to pour into our vanilla hearts. Let's top up this one with a little bit of chocolat. And there we go. A couple of extra little melts. Why not? So remember to always keep a spare silicone mold sitting in the wings for when your maker math is a little bit off, or when you're a little bit cleaner than you expected and you have a little bit more wax left because of it. So Positives. Alrighty, we are all cleaned up and we're ready to start building our candle. So I'm gonna scoot you out of the way. See you later. Appreciate your assistance. Thanks for coming out. You can see that the wax is now solidified on that brown, and it's a really nice chocolatey color. So I think we did really well with those 2 drops of liquid dye. I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to scoot this off to the side. Can you see the ones that have solidified and the ones that are still working on it? But we got ourselves, woohoo! It's going to be great. Okay. So I'm going to grab all of the hearts I made last night. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Whoa! Look at all those hearts. Look at them. So what we're going to do is first I'm going to clean up the top of these candles a little bit. Now, is it strictly necessary? I don't think so. You could totally put the hearts on top right now. I don't even know that you need to melt them enough for it to attach because these are going to be loose on top. I actually don't want to use these gloves because they're already dyed a color. I don't want to accidentally make that red go onto my hearts. So I'll put a fresh set on. But the reason I'm wearing gloves, by the way, to do this part is, as I mentioned earlier, this wax is very soft. And if I don't, it's going to end up in my nails. And then I'm going to really flip out because I hate that feeling. So no, gloves must be a factor here. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm going to clean up the top of this because I want to see if we can get some of that frosting to go away. Now, keep in mind, when you melt the tops of your candles to make them smoother or more attractive, you'll do well in terms of cracking. So this little crack that we have on this top that isn't as super smooth as we would have liked is going to be easily fixed by melting the top layer. But we don't have any major cracks here. There's a little bit of a divot right here. So I suspect that when I heat that, there'll be a bit of like almost like a bead comb, catacomb kind of like breaking up of wax underneath the surface. But it's very possible that that frost is going to come right back. So keep that in mind. Again, frosting is very, very common with soy wax. Nothing to be concerned about. Totally aesthetic. Will not impact the scent of your candle. But we're going to go ahead and melt the top anyway. And then we're going to throw a bunch of these in there and mix it up and make everybody happy. Or at least make Mary happy. Here we go. This is going to be noisy, so be prepared. Aha. Do you see what happened here? Do you see how that frost melted off and it showed like this honeycomb? That's what I was trying to say earlier when I said catacomb, because apparently I'm whatever. Let's not talk about it. Okay, here we go. Okay, I melted a really nice layer because that bit of honeycomb underneath is just gaps and holes. So melting that whole top layer is going to liquefy it all and fill in those gaps. So that hopefully this is going to now level out, because that is one of the number one things about Millennium and the super smooth top. The fact that it has that lower melt point means it stays liquid a little longer and levels itself out. So that gives you that like flat professional looking surface to pile our heart layer on. But you also notice that my wick went from at attention to having a nap on the side of the road here. This is normal. Wicks are, generally speaking, at least all of the wicks that I use are coated in wax, which is what makes them stand at attention. But if you're melting it with a heat gun, that's what's going to happen. We all wilt in the sun, don't we, darling? Yes, we do. I'm going to let that solidify a little bit. Let's move on to this guy over here, and we'll see how we do. Also, a word to the wise, if you're using a heat gun like this one, this exterior portion here is plastic. So I'm trying to not put it too far into the opening of my candle because it can very well melt this. That's why this is warped, because I've done that before. You know, things we learn. Okay, here we go. Look at that. Lots of honeycombs here too. See that? So that frosting was actually this honeycomb underneath. I could use a little bit more over there. Beautiful. I have a little bubble here I can see. I feel like we're going to have a little bit of trouble filling in those honeycombs. I might have to. Now, if I was leaving these candles with nothing on top, I would care a lot more. So I would continue to reheat this top layer until I felt like it was as smooth as I could get it. So I can see a couple of bubbles forming around this wick, which tells me that we haven't fully filled in that honeycomb underneath. So we could totally have that happen again. But I'm going to pack a bunch of hearts on top of this right now, so I'm not concerned about it. Now, I don't want to put this on with the completely liquefied top because they will start bleeding. And I'd prefer not to have that happen. So I'm going to let them dry just a little bit. This one's already at a point where I'd be okay. It's just still a little bit wet around the wick, as you can see. I'd like this to be a fully mixed heart situation. So I don't know if I'm going to do like throw in a couple and throw in a couple, or do I just mix them together like dough? What do you guys think? A little bit of vanilla, a little bit of chocolate, or mix them together, make a mix, and then dump it in? Let's do one of each. We'll start off by doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we'll see. I can see two little bubbles. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. It's okay. All right. I am going to go ahead and start. I'm going to move this one aside. I want this to kind of like solidify a tiny bit. It'll make me feel better. I don't know if you can see. Well, let's take a second while we let this dry a tiny bit. I don't know if you can see, but we've already started to get this wax around the edges is starting to cure. Now, you definitely can't see the bottom, but the bottom is starting to cure as well. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier in terms of ambient temperature of your room versus the heat of the melted wax itself. So because we put it in a completely cold jar against a cold table and the room is cold and I poured this really hot melted wax, it's now starting to solidify from the top down, from the sides in, and from the bottom up. And so that means the inner part is going to stay liquid longer and could potentially lead to some cracking, or possibly that's what made the honeycomb situation happen here. So keep that in mind. If you're working in a room that's really chilly, you might want to do all those little tricks that we talked about earlier, like putting potholders underneath, maybe putting a piece of aluminum foil around your vessel, hitting it with a heat gun like we just did on the inside and the outside. Those are a couple things you can do to try to mitigate the temperature issue. But all in all, I'm very pleased with the way this has turned out. These are almost completely solidified. Let me feel you. Oh, they're not even hot anymore. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, kid. Was able to pop that out, no problem. Not you guys, you're still wet. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead on this one. We're going to mix a couple in and a little bit at a time. Let's do a whole, no, mix. We'll do some brown on this side now. Some white on this side. Oh boy, you're going to definitely need a lot of these, eh? I'm glad I made so many. So definitely one tray is not going to be enough, I don't think. So we waited long enough. I don't see any of the candles bleeding on the bottom, like any of the hearts. Everything looks like it's sitting solid. Lots of gaps, okay? Like there's going to be. So we have the potential of lots of air gaps when we're melting. It could cause this to struggle to melt, which is not unusual. When you're making pretty candles like these that are kind of like considered dessert style candles, They're not necessarily designed to actually burn properly. They're designed to be pretty and cute. Look how pretty and cute. Look how cute that turned out. Neapolitan, Amore Napolitano. I love it. Strawberry bottom, chocolate vanilla top. Beautiful. That's number one. I think you're warm enough that we can get away with it. So I feel that pretty high, but I think we should be okay. Shake it, baby, shake. I think we need a little bit more white, actually. There's a big chunk of chocolate over here. Tell me this isn't fun because I'm having a good time. I really like this idea. I've seen like versions of this online. You'll find I say that in a lot of my videos. I get a lot of inspiration from Pinterest and from other makers online. And I just see something I like and go, how can I make that? What do I do? And then I figure out my own spin on it. So Amore da Napoli. We're making our Neapolitan heart candle today. All right. I think we are as full as we should get. Look at that. Cool, right? So I don't know. Maybe one tray would be enough for 2 candles or like per candle. Because this was 2 trays of each. So keep that in mind when you're making your own. If you're planning to do something along these lines, whether it's this Neapolitan style or maybe you're going to, you know, do pink on the bottom and like bright pink on top. All of that would work. It'd be fun. Okay, I'm going to take my gloves off and we are actually going to light these guys because here at the IHC Craft Room, we make candles from start to finish, from melted wax all the way to lighting them because that's what candles are for. Let's have a quick look before we change the way these look for. There you go. Neapolitan kisses. We've got a strawberry base, vanilla hearts, and hot fudge brownie hearts mixed into the equation, like Neapolitan ice cream. Isn't this going to be yummy? I'm going to go ahead and trim down these wicks. Now, anytime you are lighting a candle, you want to make sure that you have at least a 1/4 inch for your wick. And in particular, when you have things that have like toppers and embeds, you might want to leave a little bit more room just because they're going to generate a lot of extra wax. But these are working as an entire layer. They're not in addition to. So I'm going to do that 1/4 inch we talked about. And we're going to hope for the best. And hope we don't smother our flames, you know. All righty. Are you guys ready? We're going to light these guys up. Here we go. So these Stabilo 12 wicks, they used to be called CD wicks. They've been renamed to Stabilo, if I'm not mistaken. These are really great, and I specifically wanted to use these because they have something called a curl factor. As the wick burns, it's designed to curl slightly at the tip. So this allows the end of the wick to stay in the hottest part of the flame, which helps it kind of like self-trim. So it reduces that carbon buildup that causes the black mushroom top. It's something that definitely helps it out. You can't see it, but I totally can. It is curling within itself right now, which is a super cool factor. And they're called Stabilo wicks because of their stability. They are, you know, very stable. They have a consistent burn, and they're a favorite for soy wax because they have the strength to pull that heavy soy oil up through the wick efficiently. So definitely check out the Stabilo series. They have a number of sizes for different melt pools, and these are the 12s. I'm hoping that they're going to be enough. We're already melting down a ton of these hearts, and you can see that this flame is getting much smaller, but this one's staying up there. So I might end up smothering out this wick. We'll see. Oh boy, this one's really, it's really. Oh, I don't know. Isn't that funny? It goes to show you, doesn't it? We made these exactly the same. We poured the same amount of fragrance into each. They're the exact same level of wax on the bottom, pretty much the exact same amount of hearts on top. but where these hearts were positioned when we lit the candle has made a huge impact and difference. But this is picking up now. This guy's like, you're not going to beat me, bro. Anyway, I really enjoyed making these candles today. Definitely a twist on a classic, something that I've never done before, making a Neapolitan inspired candle. I'm really excited to see what they smell like when we get down to that bottom layer. And right now it's really cool. Unfortunately, I can't show you from the side, but the wax is melting throughout these layers and it's starting to like flow through down to the bottom. So all these little gaps over here are starting to get a little bit of melted wax poking through, which is super cool. It's a really cool effect. Anyway, I really enjoyed making these candles. I hope you enjoyed making them with me. I make candles live here at the IHC Craft Room every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join me again next Saturday for another Valentine's themed kind of candle project we're going to make together. We're going to experiment just like we experimented with this. I make lots of things for the first time on my channel, like these candles today. And they're all beginner-friendly projects. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about candle making, check out one of the videos on my channel. I've got tons. We've got shorts. I've got full-length tutorials that are 10 to 15 minutes long. Not as much rambling, but definitely a lot of merry voice anyway. And then tons of these live ones as well. If you enjoy this long form, I've got tons of them now. I've been really enjoying making candles every Saturday afternoon. I hope you join me again. And if you're interested in learning about other forms of crafting, I love dot painting. So I dot paint every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week, we're going to be making some love bugs on some oval art stones. And I'm super excited about that. So join me at 7 p.m. on Tuesday if you'd like to take part in that project. And then on Thursday, we're going to be making a Valentine's Day themed wreath. I make wreaths every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if any of those sound interesting to you, come on back to the IHC Craft Room. We're going to keep making some fun stuff every week. I hope you enjoyed making these candles with me today. I had a blast. And I'm really, oh, bro. Oh, no. One of the hearts smothered it. You know what? I'm going to get involved. Now, because this happened, I consider this candle a fail. It put itself out. However, and it needs my intervention for it to live. So that, in my opinion, is a bit of a fail. But because these are loose hearts, I mean, what are you going to expect? Some of them are going to fall, right? Where did I put my lighter? I want to relight you. There you are. You totally messed up my ending, guy. I was saying goodbye, and I'm doing an Italian goodbye where I like walk around the whole room saying bye to everybody, going, okay, I'm going to get going. Oh, you know, it's good to see you. Let me just put on my jacket. All right, let's try this again. I hope you enjoyed making these candles with me today. I had a blast. And if you did enjoy it, consider hitting that like button. It does help me out a ton. And maybe tell a friend. They might want to learn a little bit of candle making or wreath making or dot painting. And we have a lot of fun and take it easy here at the IHC Craft Room. So check out my stuff. Come back and have some fun live streaming with me. And don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!